Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the sixth lecture on embedded system design course. So in the last lecture, we discussed about the core of embedded systems. In the core of embedded systems, we have studied about general purpose process and the domain specific process. Under this category, we have studied about the microprocessors, microcontrollers, and the digital signal process. And coming to the second category which we have is the programmable logic devices. So the logic devices can provide different functions, specific functions, which can include the device to device interfacing, data communication, signal processing, data display, timing and control operations. So these are some of the operations, but the logic devices are meant to perform different functions. Okay, and coming to the logic devices, so they are broadly classified into two categories. So one is the fixed one, and other one is the programmable one. So the circuits in the fixed logic device, the circuits in the fixed logic device are permanent in nature. Okay, so they are programmed to perform one function or some set of function. That means once it is manufactured, it will be performing that set of functions or a single function, and they cannot be changed during the lifetime. Why? Because they are fixed in nature or permanent in nature, so we can't change the program in that, and that will be performing the same function or same set of functions for its lifetime. That is called as the fixed logic device. So coming to the other one, that is programmable logic devices. So this programmable logic devices offers a wide range of logic capacity, features, speed and voltage characteristics. And these devices can be reconfigured. This can be reconfigured to perform any number of functions at any time. That means, suppose that if the device is programmed for, if the PLD is programmed for device to device interfacing, so that will be performing that operation. Suppose after few days we require the operation of signal processing. So we just need to change the program of the PLD to signal processing, so that it will be performing that task. So that that offers a flexibility of reprogramming, and with other features like logic capacity and speed and different voltage characteristics. So these are all advantages of the PLDs. And the designers, as I told earlier, so we need to we can program it to any of the function just by using a designer. So it is very inexpensive software tool, and you can quickly develop and simulate and test the logic designs in the PLD based design. Suppose if you want to use for an AND gate, if you want to implement an AND gate, just you need to dump the code for the AND gate in the PLD using some tool, or we can say software tool, or we call it as a designer. So after that we require some XOR gate. Just you need to just dump that code into that, erase that whatever code we have already written for AND gate, so that we can erase it off and just dump the OR gate or XOR gate, whichever is needed, by using that the designer, which is very inexpensive software tool. So what happens is we are able to quickly develop the device. That means either we are just taking a simple example of an AND gate or XOR gate. It can be any complex function like whatever we have seen in the first point, that is device to device interfacing, data communication, signal processing, data display, or timing and control operations, or any other complex operation we can consider. So that can be quickly changed. The program can be quickly changed to any of the the function which is needed, and we can just test as on. That means that when we can just dump the code, and we can that means it is programmed to that function. We can just test that there itself, and you can check that if there are any faults. So what happens here is the design can be quickly programmed into the device, and it can be immediately tested in a live circuit. So that what happens is system development as well as the testing also takes very less time by using the PLDs, that is programmable logic devices. And how we are able to do that is the PLDs uses rewritable memory technology, so that it can be reprogrammed. It can be reprogrammed to change the design. So that is the advantage of the PLDs. And we have before going into the ASICs, we'll try to see what are different categories of the PLDs. So generally there can be different programmable logic devices. So you will be having an idea of the programmable logic devices which you have studied in digital logic design or STLD, switching theory and logic design. So that can be a PROM, that can be a PLA, or that can be a PAL, that is programmable array logic and programmable logic array. And next comes the PLD, that is programmable logic devices. And after this one, we'll be having CPLD and FPGAs. So CPLD means complex programmable logic device, and FPGA is nothing but field programmable gate array. Okay, so they offer a large logic capacity so that we can implement many number of gates, that is thousands and millions of gates. So that will be available in the CPLD. So for any complex implementation, complex device implementation, you can go for the FPGAs and the CPLDs. So we have some examples related to this CPLD or the FPGA. So we have FPGA from Xilinx Corporation. The IC name is Xilinx Vertex, and the Xilinx Cool Runner is nothing but a CPLD. So which consists of large logic capacity, and we can implement many functionalities like device-to-device interfacing, data communication, signal processing, timing and control circuits. So all this is possible by using the CPLDs and FPGAs, okay, which comes under the programmable logic devices. And the advantage of this is nothing but it will take very less time to implement the functionality, and we can test it in the live circuit, and this can be done through the rewritable memory technology. And if coming to the second category, that is third category, application specific integrated circuits. So this application specific integrated circuit is nothing but it is a microchip designed to perform a specific or unique application, and it is nothing but replacement to the conventional general purpose logic chips. So we have discussed about general purpose process in the last lecture. So where general purpose process are meant for the general market, and they can be used for performing variety of applications. But if we need an IC which need to perform only that function always, so then we can go for the application specific integrated circuit. So next, what it consists is it integrates the several functions into a single chip. That means for a particular application or particular domain, it integrates all the functions, and that is available in a single chip. So thereby what happens is thereby reduce the system development cost. That means we need not integrate more number of ICs to get the functionality. So all that functionalities which are required for that application or domain are available in that IC itself. So just we can take that IC and place wherever we need it for the embedded system. And next, most ASICs are proprietary products. So proprietary products means, so the vendor will be having only the right to manufacture it and use it, and no others can use that products. That means he need to buy from the vendor itself, but he can't use it individually. Why? Because there will be some specific boards for that. On that boards itself, they need to use those ICs, and so that we call them proprietary products. And as a single chip ASIC consumes very small area of the total system, and this helps the design of the smaller systems with higher capabilities and functionalities. So as the ASIC is designed for that specific application, so it combines all the functionalities or all the capabilities required for that application, so that it will be consuming very less area. Why? Because all that is available in the single chip, so that it will be occupying very less space. And as it is occupying less space, so it whatever the system we are developing, so that also will be having a small area. And next, ASICs can be prefabricated for a special application, or it can be in custom fabricated by using components from the reusable building block library of the components of a particular customer application. So there can be specific IC for a special application. That means they are prefabricated. So that means one vendor will be giving the requirements, and based on that requirements, so the IC is being designed and fabricated. So that's one way the ASICs are designed. And other way is that, so we'll be having the reusable library building blocks, so that for any type of application, so all that building blocks are combined together to make a ASIC. So that is other way of making of the ASIC. Next, we have the other category in this ASICs itself. So that is called as an application specific standard product. That is ASSP. ASSP, application specific standard product. So before going to that, so we need to know that there are some charges involved in the fabrication of ICs. So a non-refundable initial investment, that is nothing but also called as non-recurring engineering charges, NRE charges, non-recurring engineering charges. So for process technology and the configuration expenses. So whenever a vendor want to design an IC or develop an IC for his application, he need to bear the non-refundable initial investment, that is nothing but non-recurring engineering charges. So for what means? For developing the process technology for that designing the IC and fabrication of the IC. So these initial investments are needed if at all we are going for an ASIC. Next, suppose that if this non-recurring engineering charges, NRE charges, is borne by some third party, not by the vendor. Suppose that the manufacturer of some washing machine is there. So if the manufacturer want IC which is designed for only his washing machine, then he need to bear the non-recurring engineering charges, and he will be developing he will be developing that ASIC for his washing machine only. So that cannot be used by the other company washing machines. And suppose that if one third party is bearing that NRE charges, and if they are designing an IC and they are releasing it into the market, and it is openly available in the market, then what happens is, so this IC is meant for washing or washing machines. So then some company may be buying that IC, and some other company also may use that In that case, it is called as the application specific standard product, that is ASSP. So we have some examples related to this application specific integrated circuit, that is ADE7760. ADE7760. It's an energy meter from the Analog Devices Corporation. So this is meant for only energy metering, or we can say measure the power consumption. So for that type of applications we need to use, okay. So that it is nothing but application specific integrated circuit. It serves only that purpose, so that it is called as the ASIC. Next, coming to the next category, that is fourth category, we have commercial off-the-shelf components. So these are the components which can be used as is. That means just we can bring the component and place it in the part where part of the embedded system where it is needed. So why? Because they can be just brought and placed as it is. Why? Because they have easy integration and interoperability with the existing system components. So these commercial off-the-shelf components or cards are designed in such a way that they will be providing easy integration and interoperability with the existing system components, so that we can say that they can be used as is. And next, coming to the typical examples of the cards hardware unit are, so remote control toy car control unit with RF circuitry part. Next, high performance, high frequency microwave electronics. And next, high bandwidth analog to digital converters. Next, devices and the components for operation at high temperatures. Next, electro-optic IR imaging arrays, UV, IR decoder circuits. So these are nothing but the hardware, or we can say the commercial off-the-shelf hardware which can be available, and they can be just brought out of the shelf and place it where it is needed in the embedded system. So we have some example for this one, which is TCP IP plugin module. So TCP IP plugin module is available from various manufacturers like Viznet, Freescale, Dynalog. So all this provide the TCP IP plugin module. So in many embedded system we require the communication part. So in that communication part we require the TCP IP plugin module, so that just we can bring it out of the shelf, which can be from any of the manufacturer. Why? Because so they are having interoperability, so we can just use that component directly. Just you need to bring it out of the shelf and place it in the embedded system communication part. So that is one example related to the card. And what do card contain is a general purpose processor. It can be a general purpose processor. It can be application specific instruction set processor, that is ASIC. And next, application specific integrated chip or application specific standard product. So these two we have discussed in the earlier slide. It is application specific integrated circuit and application specific standard product. So both of them are same, except that whenever the NRE charges are borne by the third party and the product is openly available in the market, then we call the IC as the application specific standard product. Or we can have even the PLD in place of a card. So card component can be anything. It can be a general purpose processor, it can be a application specific instruction set processor, or we can simply call it as domain specific processor, or it can be an ASIC, that is application specific integrated circuit, or it can be application specific standard product, or it can be a PLD. So we can have any one of these in the cards, so that can be brought it and be placed in the place of core of embedded system. And next, what is the advantage with this cards is that so they are readily available in the market and cheap and developer can cut down the development time to a great extent. So as they are readily available and most of them cost very less, so that the user can easily develop the embedded system. So the PLDs, that is programmable logic devices, and commercial off the shelf, so which makes the development time, or which reduce the development time to the great extent, and we can test the circuit there itself, so that you can have the prototype, very less prototyping time, and if there are any faults during the prototyping also, so that can be resolved, and then we can get into the final product development. So that will take very less time if we use COTS or the PLDs. And in the next session or next lecture, we'll be studying about the memory part of the embedded system. Thank you. And please do subscribe, like and share the video, so that it can reach to the many others who want to study the embedded system design course. Thank you.